Mm, mm, mm. Welcome. Let me see if she's not on yet. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Jody is with us today, a new participant. Thank you for joining us. She has come through Angela. And we're just grateful to have you as part of our circle today. And please feel free to reach out to any of us if you need anything. We are, of course, here for you. And let's see, what else did I need to share that was housekeeping? Let me take a look and see. Sheila had something to announce, an offering that she is offering to us. And if she shows up, I will have her speak about that. Otherwise, I will have her post it on our WhatsApp group. It is about a writing prompt response that she's offering. And I think it is on, I'm not sure when it is, but she's doing an hour session coming up. And we'll post it so that you know if you'd like to participate in using writing as one of the inspirational tools in your life to connect with what's surging through you, what's coming from the outside in. We know how powerful writing can be. So we'll make sure you get the information on that. And I think that is all for right now. So City and I today wanted to have a bit of a dialogue about something that struck her from last week's conversation and discourse, was the topic of boredom. And so we wanted to have a little discussion about that, a little dialogue. So let's see, City, did you want to change the?
Yeah, I tried to, but it didn't do it. So I thought, I don't know, it worked when I did it on with Lydia that evening, and right now it doesn't. So you just go ahead and you do it this way.
Okay. So we were just sort of discussing how it is in the rhythms that we have in our lives and how we get into, we'll call them ruts or, just sort of a place of being uninspired. And for us as creators, as women who are manifestors and creators, being inspired is part of the juice that runs us and that keeps us going into new areas and accepting new challenges. And when we're dulled, it's difficult for us to feel the energy even to step into something new. And we wanted to talk a little bit about what boredom might stem from, what it looks like, and what might be some of the ways that we can sit with boredom. And so for me, I think City and I have come at it a slightly different way, some similarities, but a slightly different way. So I think it'll be interesting dialogue and sharing between us. So I'm just going to say a couple of things, and I'm going to let City jump in. To me, boredom is a result of disorder in our life. And I say that because when we're in the natural order of things, when we're receiving inspiration and we're receiving guidance and we're receiving our intuitive knowing, then there's a natural order that happens in our life. It's not to say that we don't have tasks and duties that are repetitive and maybe not so interesting. That's just part of being in the embodied form. But the balance of natural order, when we are in an integrated state of body, mind, and spirit, new things are coming through us that we are inspired by quite regularly. And when they're not, to me, it's not a matter of adding more into my life so that I can be covering up for this sense of maybe malaise or boredom. It's about reassessing how it is I'm spending my time and how it is that I'm receiving the information and the guidance that's coming through me. And sometimes that requires a clearing out. So when my outside world is not in alignment with my inside world, there's a sense of disorder or imbalance. And that imbalance to me creates a restlessness. And out of that restlessness, I sense boredom. I want change. And the natural way that we think about that is, okay, well, I'm going to change. I'm going to just start doing something new. And we try to add something that's different into our lives. And often that just feels like another thing, because the reason we were feeling out of sorts to begin with was that we weren't in alignment with what was in right timing of activities and in inspiration for us. We weren't hearing and listening to what information was coming. So it wasn't about adding more. And in many cases, it's really about taking away, but it is mostly about listening, because all of this information that we need to hear, the more we hone and practice listening and hearing to what our intuitive knowingness has to share with us, the more we integrate body, mind, spirit. The more we just listen to what our mind says about judgment or fear about something or boredom about something, the more we move away from integration. So to me, boredom is a sign that we might be tangled up. And it's also a sign of an impending transition. So when we're about to go into transition, it's like when, as mothers, we know when our children were about to take another step, like learning how to walk, or when they were beginning to speak, when they were going through a developmental transition, they would often go back a little bit for a few days or a week or so, and they could be quite crotchety. And then all of a sudden they would start doing something really new, like they took their first steps. You went, oh, they were about to enter this new transition. And it took a little rearranging of their internal and external world. They were rebalancing, recalibrating their internal and external world. And so when I feel that sense of like disorder in myself, I think, oh, I may be going through another transition. And how do I acknowledge and honor that transition and give myself space for that transition so that I can be aware of it and I can actually assist it rather than fight against it. And the instinct to do more doesn't actually give me that spaciousness. So I'm really just talking about our listening to ourselves, our internal listening, and how we practice that as a regular practice, because that will inform most of the changes that are coming. We will already sense them on an energetic level before they even come into the actual form. That's what I'm going to say. What would you like to say, Siddhi?
Yeah, well, I think, the first thing is to have a listening for boredom, for that word, and how our listening for that word, and when we use, everything lives in language, and if we say boredom, so energetically, it's like as if the energy is dragging down. We are bored. There's the lack of interest in our activity and everything. So I think we have not claimed boredom as a high level of consciousness. So if we can really allow boredom, it means it's actually the simplest form of being. There's nothing to do. Yeah, and if we could be with that and accept the no-thingness, I think then we can drop into the beingness and we can allow what you say, then creativity can arise. But it arises from a place of stillness and non-doing and non-creating and non-coming up with something. It's like we're becoming a transmitter for something we don't know even yet what it is. Yeah. So, and I think so often boredom, even if you look especially at how parents avoid boredom for their children, it's amazing. When the kids are bored, it's like, okay, do this, do that, or they give them any devices to just not have them sit in boredom, but it's actually a place from which creativity and intelligence arises. So, and I think we are not making space for boredom, and that would totally shift our relationship with it. And especially, and that was why I was so hung up on it last time in our talk, because for me, creativity arises when I allow boredom and I allow myself to sit in boredom and to be in a question, to not have an answer, and to move through it instead of avoiding or denying or silencing that energy. So that's how I deal with it. but I do with everything, whatever comes to me, you know, misery or upset or sadness. I'm always allowing it to be there. And I'm trying my best not to distract myself from what is. And boredom is just actually an energy where we learn to be with what is, instead of searching, okay, what could we do differently, you know? So I think if we change our relationship to the vibration of the sound boredom, then we also create a new relationship, how we being with it.
Mm-hmm. I also think that for me, I sometimes feel that sense of boredom, maybe not quite the right word. It's more malaise for me. When I
Can you explain that word for me? Because I don't know.
malaise, it's
yeah.
it's a state of discontent, and it can be
Okay.
characterized as maybe in a funk,
Okay.
a little bit depressed or down, just not feeling inspired.
Got it.
So I find that when that feeling comes to me, so one thing that I understand in life, and all of us are doing this on this call, all of you are doing such beautiful work in the world and the ways that you're showing up in the world. But I think that life craves meaning and an intersection for each of us with the sense of what is our contribution. And one of the ways for me to work through boredom or malaise or discontent is to serve. So I know, not in just like finding another thing to do, but that when we see our life as service, that goes on underneath no matter what. Like that just is a sustaining state. And when that's, whether you're helping your neighbor or you're helping, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter how you are doing that into the world. But when we realize that our actions most connect us with ourselves when we're in service. And so when I feel that state of boredom, I might just need to change my mindset about how I am in the world with my service and take my mind off of preoccupation with me and being bored. And then as I'm doing that on behalf of another person or another need, the inspiration has a way to come through because it's not being controlled by my mind or my activity or my busyness. So I think service is an interesting way for us to be reminded of our place in the bigger picture of the world, that we are of service. That's how we come in, that all of us are doing it in different ways, but it's a really beautiful reminder. And sometimes when I feel that sense of not being balanced, I see that I haven't been really acknowledging the service that I do in the world. And when I acknowledge it more, then I go back into a better balance. And then that inspiration has a space to come through and something new will come through. I mean, that's all you do, city of service. That's your whole life.
I just discovered that.
But I know it's really powerful, particularly for young people, you know, teenagers and whatnot, that are that's the age when we're so involved in ourselves and our own development, that to see the outside world as a piece of us, and that we're tending ourselves by tending the outside world. It's not just taking care of ourselves, it's also taking care of other, that is inspiring. That inspires the soul.
I was also, while you were speaking, I was thinking that, you know, boredom is also for me a place of luxury. You know, because I remember vividly this one day where I observed these women building a house. They had nothing, and they always carried these heavy rocks on their head. And I thought they don't even have the luxury to sit in boredom because their survival keeps them constantly moving. You know, there was not even a space of not doing or just being. And I think that's also for us, you know, to look at, if I'm in boredom, on one hand, a lot of things are already all right and okay around me, so that I can actually be bored.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not worried about finances or survival or anything. So if we look at boredom as a place of luxury, that also shifts our our relationship with it.
Mhm. Yeah. There's also something about creating, we talk a lot about spaciousness and
Mhm.
emptiness, but to make a conscious effort to create or surrender to a level of emptiness in our lives so that we are leaving this cauldron that we are open to new things coming through. So
Mm.
it may be your mind. I mean, that's why we meditate, so that we can clear our mind out and have it be a bit less cluttered. It's just like spring cleaning your house, or spring cleaning, it's spring cleaning our spirit. So how do we consciously make that clear out, leave spaciousness, leave emptiness, so that there's room for the new and the unexpected? So there's room for grace. It's hard
Yeah.
for grace to come through us when we fill ourselves up so full that there's not a crevice to fit something into. So I think emptiness, and it's not just about doing fewer things. That's one way, doing is
Mhm.
one, but it's being in the space of emptiness, not just undoing. That it's a conscious space that you go into, that you and I were talking about this yesterday, that in so many of the spiritual writings across traditions, they talk about the emptying out of yourself before you can receive that which is being offered to you, whether you look at it as grace or God or what Allah or whatever you want to call it. But there's an emptying out that has to happen first before the new can be poured in. And so if we're looking for a new inspiration, we have to empty something out in order for that spaciousness to be available for something new. And that's a practice.
Yeah, and I remember, moments when you called from India or I called you and we said, we are so bored. We are so darn bored because, we always had to do the same thing, the same repetition, so it was like, and that was the repetition was actually moving us through our boredom. We had to go into it. And I remember every time when I start a new sadhana, in the beginning, I'm really excited and, oh, this is great. And then after 40 days, I think, oh God, that chant again. And then I have to continue chanting. And at one point, I actually break through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, it's a stage, like I said before, it's a stage of consciousness. And when I go be in it and move through it, I'm breaking through. And I think that's where the gift comes in. And if we distract ourselves, we never come to this space of breakthrough from the inside out. Yeah, but I remember, especially in all the spiritual traditions, the repetition, the discipline can be really challenging and move us through it.
So as we talk about emptying things out and cleaning, spring cleaning can be on the physical level of the things that activities we let go of, or ways that we clear space for ourselves, but it's also things, behaviors, patterns that we want: resentment, anxiety, harsh judgment, self-pity, mistrust, addiction, whatever, negative thoughts, useless fears, worries, all of these paradigms that we carry around in this, on a backpack on our back everywhere we go, that we think we need. And letting go of those, consciously letting go of those constructs, is part of this emptying out in order to give ourselves the spaciousness. And we may feel like you get so, it's just another practice of relinquishing that which is not serving me. And I know most of us have some of those patterns that are habitual and that we've spent a lot of time honing, so we've gotten really good at, and we can let go of that. We can let go of those things. And what will come through when those are released is a different kind of inspiration. So really looking at are there some emotional things that I can let go of? Are there some organizational things I can let go of? Can I, even in this sense of boredom, can I let go of something else? And I see this trigger of feeling bored or malaise as being transformational. It's a gift, as you said, it's a gift. So can I use that to let other things go so I can sit in this pool and in this cauldron of spaciousness and see what arises, and allow for the inspiration that wants to come through me, that is unique for me, not from the outside world, what somebody else thinks, but is happening internally for me, is allowed to surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my invitation is really for us as mothers, or some of us are grandmothers, really allowing our kids and our grandchildren to be bored, and not to save them or help them, but allow them to, because that's what I observe a lot. I work a lot with pregnant women, and they already have often children. And to see that the children, if we would allow them to be in boredom, they would really start to be more creative. Don't fix anything with them. Just let them evolve, and then they come up with plays and role plays and everything, like we did when we were kids. We didn't have all the devices, so we had to use our creative thoughts pattern. So that's my invitation for this week, to really see with my children or my grandchildren how easy I am uncomfortable with their boredom.
Beautiful. And my invitation is to acknowledge that if we're in a state of boredom or malaise or restlessness, that we're in a transition, and that's exciting. We don't know yet what's going to be revealed, but something is coming through and rearranging the priorities and the order and the constructs that are in our life. Something is wanting to arise. And that's why we have this unsettled nature. And that's exciting, because we don't know exactly how it's going to manifest, in what shape or form, but we open-heartedly welcome it, and just sit and release ourselves into that, settle into that for the week, and allow that to be the food, be the catalyst for the transformation.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I'm sitting on a chair today. I just felt like it. So you can sit any way you like. Shifting. So for those that are new this morning, we're going now into a movement practice, because after all the talking, there's a lot of activity. The air element is very active right now in our body. So we want to ground the air element and bring it really deep down, all the way into our feet. So I want us to just have our hands on our thighs, and then just come up onto your toes. You won't see this right now. I'm all the way up on my toes, and then I bring my whole feet back onto the ground. I just lift up, down, very simple. Just closing your eyes and connecting with your feet, connecting with Mother Earth's belly beneath you. Stimulating the nerve endings in our toes. The command center and the functional body have to, really work with each other right now. Good. Then I'd like you to lift now your left leg up, interlace your fingers, place them below your left knee, and then start big rotations with your foot. We reverse the direction. So joint health is crucial, actually also for our brain health, because if our joints are not fluid, there is a restriction in movement and communication within our body. Now flex, point. And we see that the more we grow up, the less flexible people become with their ankles. You will see them, We become a little bit unsure in our walking, taking steps. So we want to make sure our feet are under our control. Good, let's switch legs. And first start to rotate. And the feet are farthest away from our brain. So there's more communication that needs to go through all the brain waves. And reverse the direction. And then flex point. And if you do this for like a minute or two, you will feel like this is a part of your body most likely that's not really being used that often. We won't do any longer now, but just practice this at home. Good. We bring our right leg now crossing over our left. Left arm crosses over the right leg. So here's a double cross, which is really healthy for our brain. Always remember, the brain needs these exercises where we cross our legs and our arms to stimulate the opposite sides of our brains. Now from here, right arm, right palm is facing out, and then exhale and stretch over. Inhale slowly. And exhale. Now I want you to count to 3, going over 1, 2, 3. And then your exhale will be 6 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And inhale 3. 1, 2, 3. And exhale 6. Keep going 2 more times. I think 1 more time. Good. The breath 3, 6, or 4, 4, or 5, 10. Always regulate your nervous system. Switch legs. So right arm crosses over your left. Left palm is facing outside. And then first just stretch 1 time, just overhead. And come back. And now start to inhale, count to 3 on your own. And exhale 6. Make sure you're breathing in and out only through your nostrils. We're working the spleen, we're working our gallbladder right now, colon. Everything gets a little stimulated here through the stretch. Last one. Good, and then bring your hands back onto your thighs, both feet on the ground. Let me show you the posture from the side. I like this one especially for my heart center and my lungs. So I'm rounding my spine as far back as I can. My palms stretch forward, my fingertips reach. So I really feel the rounding in my spine. My arms hugging the ears, that's important here. And then I start to inhale. I turn my palms upward. Keep my arms parallel to the floor, they're not dropping. And I arch back. I reach back as far as I can. And then I start to rotate again. The initiation comes from my tailbone. Inhale, go into the expansion. Exhale, contraction. When I go back, my palms are facing up. And I go forward, my palms facing down. Focusing on your heart center. Make sure your arms are not dropping. The tendency is because often our arm capacity is a bit weakened. You go down, keep them as high up as you can, shoulder level. Good, we do only one more here. And then we bring our hands around our knees. We walk our feet apart. And from here we go into Sufi grind. So you turn your torso to the left. You arch over your left thigh. You arch forward. You're on an inhalation. When you come to the right thigh, you start to round your spine and you go back. Tuck your chin in. Inhale, bring your chin to parallel. Exhale. Chin towards the chest. Working now our kidneys and adrenals. Stimulating our reproductive organs. So in case you are bored throughout the day and you sit at your desk, if you want to distract yourself, you can do it this way. It would be a healthy distraction. Reverse the direction. We are activating the water element right now, bringing more fluidity into our spine, into our body. Creating an upward spiral with the Kundalini energy. Good, last one rotation. And then we come to center. And we will prepare for our mantra. So her name is Judy. Judy, we chant a mantra. Om Mani Padme Om. Yeah. So what I want us to do this morning, because we ended with the kidney energy last, I want you now to hold a mudra where you bring your left palm up. All fingers are straight right now. You bring your right thumb in between your pinky and your ring finger, and you press the thumb into the center of your palm. Then your right hand will just open up and hold the left hand. Now the left thumb and the left ring fingers are connecting. Left palm up. Spread your fingers. Between your pinky and your ring finger, you place your right thumb. The right hand is just resting under the left hand. Left thumb and left ring fingertips are touching. Okay, so this is my left hand. Right thumb goes through. Pinky and ring finger. And then just these two touch. Ring finger and pinky. Yeah? It looks right. Okay. So this way you stimulate your kidney energy, which is also stands for the relationship with yourself and with your primary partner. And we're going into our mantra, Om Mani Padme.
Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Padme Hum, padme hum. Om mani padme hum. Mani padme hum. Om mani padme hum. Mani padme
Oh, good. And then we slowly bring our hands into prayer pose. And we're bowing our heart towards our heart and towards the hearts in the circle. Inhale deeply. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for your presence, for your beingness. Have a beautiful week. Thank you, Lydia, for keeping me on track.